They, and when I say they, I am talking about the powers that be, the so-called powers that be, refuse to tell us that we are being hacked, that we are in a cyber war. And more than likely that is because they are the ones that are doing the hacking. Cargo ships just happen to carelessly roam around the waters, smacking directly into bridges. Why? Well, possibly climate change. Multiple phone carriers and pharmacies and other companies go down in one day? Well, climate change. Now, I don't know if you have heard the latest, but there were 2 outages almost back to back, one dealing with the weather and another one dealing with 911 services in multiple states. 4 states have experienced widespread outages of 911 lines, affecting emergency calls throughout South Dakota and swaths of Nebraska, Nevada, and Texas overnight. So these 4 states were affected at the same time overnight. Most of the lines were down for 1 to 2 hours, although services appeared to be gradually restored overnight. Now, what they are stating at the time that this occurred, the exact nature of the outages appeared to vary across the states. Some 911 systems reported problems with calls from landlines, while others said customers using mobile phones were struggling to get through. Some police departments or sheriff's offices said that 911 callers were receiving a busy signal, and they encouraged people to contact them via non-emergency numbers or by text. Let's be honest for a second. Am I the only one that doesn't know any additional numbers, any alternate numbers to 911 besides 911? If I'm in a real emergency or a real crisis, the only number that I know to dial is 911. I mean, at least I don't. Do you? If you do, please comment it below, because you might be able to save a life if nobody can reach 911 in a emergency situation. Now, they do state at that time, no cause for the service disruption has been publicly identified. However, in Texas, the Del Rio Police Department said the issue was caused by an outage with a major cellular carrier. Now, this department did not name the carrier or immediately respond to an overnight request for comment from multiple news agencies for further detail. Now, over in South Dakota, the South Dakota Department of Public Safety tweeted that it was aware of a 911 service interruption throughout the state. It urged people to instead text issues to 911 instead and advised people not to test out 911. Now, I am a person, and I will admit I am a person that creates grammatical errors. Now, imagine having to text 911 during a crisis. Now, I do get that it's better than nothing, but imagine texting 911, help, he's got a gun to me, sad face emoticon. Hours later, the South Dakota Highway Patrol later tweeted that service has been restored on the South Dakota 911 system, adding, our emergency system is fully operational and ready to respond promptly to any situation. Your safety is our top priority. Now, over in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department reported an outage affecting 911 calls from landlines, as well as its non-emergency phone line on Wednesday evening. It urged people to call from a mobile device so they could be called back, or text 911 instead. So if you use your mobile device to call 911, do you have to wait for 911 to call you back? That is absolutely crazy. Because if you have your mobile phone and you're calling 911, can't you just tell the operator the problem then? But about 2 hours later, it said the phone service had been restored and that all of the individuals who called during the outage had been called back and provided assistance. Meanwhile, the Nevada State Police reported outages affecting emergency services in southern Nevada for about 90 minutes Wednesday night. Going over to Nebraska. In Nebraska, officials reported outages in various counties. Officials in Douglas County in eastern Nebraska said a partial statewide outage of 911 has been reported, with users reporting a fast, busy signal when calling, while the Buffalo County Sheriff's Office urged people affected to call non-emergency numbers instead. In southern Nebraska, the Dundee County Sheriff's Office also directed people to its administrative hotline. It later said both cellular and landline 911 services had been restored. As hours passed and they were investigating the issue, they have determined what caused the outages in 3 of the states, but not Texas. And you will not believe what they determined. Well, they determined that a light pole installation was blamed for the 911 outages. With Texas going down, the loss of service in Texas was unrelated to the line cut in Kansas City, and that was just one big coinker-dinker. Texas was just a coincidence. So, ultimately, like I said, many of the emergency 911 service outages that hit several states for a few hours on Wednesday were just that. Were caused by the installation of a light pole. Although the Federal Communications Commissions and other agencies were investigating outages in Nevada, South Dakota, and Nebraska stemmed from a cut fiber line due to a third-party company installing a light pole unrelated to our service, Mark Molson, Global Issues Director for Lumen Technologies, said in an email to the Associated Press. Molson said Lumen is not a 911 provider in Texas, so the loss of service there was unrelated to the line cut in Kansas City, Missouri. Now get this, there were no reports of 911 outages in Kansas City. Isn't that just weird? I guess this Kansas City line being cut affects every other state, but the state it's actually in. I'm not going to read any more of this. Does anybody really buy this baloney? This malarkey? This bumbleclot information? I'm even using languages I didn't even know I knew. Like, is anybody really that deep asleep that they'll read this and be like, honey, guess what? They did it. They fixed it, honey. It was a light pole. Oddly, on top of everything else, as coincidence may have it, quote unquote coincidence, Monday, almost 50% of the National Weather Service went down. They were not able to report the weather. Why? Because of a glitch. This glitch did not happen just once, not twice, but 3 times in the month of April alone. Weather radar systems keep glitching, and it could be a huge problem. Weather radar systems for the National Weather Service experienced a mass outage Sunday, at least the 3rd such incident in a month. Alerts shared on social media suggested that roughly half of all NWS weather radars experienced a major outage in the early hours Monday morning as major storm systems developed across the plains. Though no extreme weather was thought to be occurring at the time of the outage, this is far from the first time such an issue has appeared to occur. Meteorologists in the St. Louis region and surrounding counties were left blind late on Monday, April 1st, when NWS radars went down for unknown reasons. Now, while the National Weather Service was down, local meteorologists were able to track the system just by studying lightning strikes alone, and they found that during the outage in St. Louis, 17 tornadoes touched down. Isn't that something that the National Weather Service glitches at one of the worst possible times? On April 11th, a radar and communications outage hit NWS Wakefield, Virginia through to Dover, Delaware. This outage also happened during a very severe thunderstorm. Let's also not forget that other glitch that occurred on April 9th when that massive anomaly was seen in Antarctica. So what indeed is going on here? Is anybody out there really buying their narrative? Around the same time, we are having so many glitches, outages, things going down. Just does not make sense whatsoever. And I feel like we are not given a straight answer. And you have to ask yourself why. We are either in a conflict with a nation or nations, or this is an inside job. Somebody's testing the waters to a much bigger event. But I do want to hear from you. Please do comment below. In any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.